Okay, I'm going to show you how to add the last step to this cityscape two-point perspective for the sign. When you make your own, of course, you'll add more doors and windows and things to make it look realistic. But the sign is a little bit tricky, so I thought I would show you one way to do that, or at least one way to make this particular sign. It's not perfect, but it is pretty decent for making perspective. So let's move back and I'll show you kind of step by step. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, so bear with me. First thing we need to do is start making our lines for our sign. So we're going to use our vanishing point to make the bottom edge. And then we're going to need to figure out how to divide this space up, because since it goes back in space or back in perspective, we have to figure out where the middle is. And we can't just measure from side to side, because since it's angled away from us, that measurement wouldn't be accurate. So you're going to use the method where you go from one corner to the opposite corner, and then the other set of corners, and that line where those intersect is going to be the middle of this side, so we're going to add a vertical line there. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and get rid of the first part of that so that it's not in our way. So you can erase that out. Again, every time you do those corners where you crisscross them, I would draw very lightly so that you don't have to mess with it later, because it's going to be a pain to erase all that if you draw really dark. So now the next step, we're going to add in some more, hang on one second, we're going to add in some more of those lines so that we can separate this out again, because we don't just have two letters on the side of our building. You could make a building with two letters and that would be fine, but if you're doing four letters, you're going to have to cross those again to split that space up so that we can figure out where the middle of that is. So we're going to do that by crisscrossing again, both sides this time, and that shows us where to make two more vertical lines. So we're going to go through and add our vertical lines, and then we can get rid of all of the other stuff so that we have our little spaces figured out for where the letters need to go. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because this just shows you the space to make your letter. So when you make your letter, you don't just draw like you were drawing a line going, or some letters going across your page. You have to fit it into this square. So that means when you put the letter in, it has to go line up at the bottom and go all the way up to the top and fill the square as much as possible. So for this particular one, that's going to look like this, where you notice that it tries to line up at the bottom and it goes all the way up to the top and it kind of fills the whole space. And we're going to do that for each one of those letters. And it's going to look something like that. We can go through and take out these lines now, although to be honest, some signs are made from separate letters, so you could have them there. You might want to get rid of them. I'm going to get rid of them. I think it looks a little bit nicer. So when I erase this extra here and those extra lines there, it's going to look like this. You're probably not going to have just one sign on a building in a cityscape, because in the city there are usually signs on most of your buildings, because most of your buildings are going to be some sort of business. Even if it's an apartment building, it has some sort of sign. So it's going to have something on it somewhere, whether it's up here at the top, down here at the bottom, doesn't matter, you can use the same method. So what I want you to do is to take your cityscape, I want you to make several buildings. I want you to use each of the methods that I showed you, so leaving a space for an alley, making some buildings in back. You may have more buildings than I have here. I definitely want to see more doors and windows. I was just showing you how to do it, so I want to see some more doors and windows. Maybe make an entire building that's a glass building using your vanishing point to where you're going to have windows covering the entire thing. Add as much detail as possible and show me each of the things that I have shown you in this video so that you can get full points, and that's what I want to see you working on.